Along with countless fans that Dave Grohl, renowned frontman of Foo Fighters, has garnered, he's also gained a substantial amount of wealth throughout his career. As a multi-talented musician, Dave's financial success is as colorful as his musical journey. Where he spends his millions from his career offers a fascinating glimpse into the life of one of the most famous rock stars. From impractical and extravagant purchases to philanthropic efforts, knowing where Dave Grohl spends his millions really puts into perspective how unique he is compared to other well-known people of his caliber. The legend Dave Grohl. Dave was born in January 1969. He's the son of a teacher and a news writer. Growing up, he wasn't always as well off as he is now, but he had the passion and dedication. At the young age of 12, he began to pick up and learn how to play the guitar. He grew tired and bored of lessons, so he taught himself how to play. With his guitar skills and love of music, he played in several local bands throughout high school, including being a guitarist in a band called Freak Baby. It was during his time with this band that he taught himself how to play drums. He never took any lessons, but only learned by listening to Rush and punk rock bands. While in a band called Scream, Dave met Buzz Osborne, who introduced him to Kurt Cobain and Chris Novoselic. Buzz encouraged Dave to audition for Nirvana, and to no one's surprise, he impressed Kurt and Chris with his skills and energy. It wasn't long until he joined the band and made history. In 1994, tragedy struck when Nirvana's frontman Kurt Cobain passed away, leading to the disbandment of Nirvana. Unsure of what to do after the tragedy, Dave brought himself to a recording studio and poured his heart into his songs. He ended up making a 15-track demo where he played all the instruments by himself. From his demo, he formed Foo Fighters as a one-man project. As everyone knows, that project became a band that the whole world would love. Their hits like Everlong, My Hero, and The Pretender have become anthems for fans worldwide. With how big the Foo Fighters have become, there's no doubt that each member would amass a substantial amount of wealth. But how does Dave Grohl spend all that money he has? Humble abode. $330 million. That's how much Dave Grohl's net worth is. With a net worth that big, we'd expect Dave to live a lavish lifestyle, not unlike many people who have the same net worth range as him. Most would think that Dave lives in a mansion filled with all the trappings of luxury, but that couldn't be farther from the truth. In reality, Dave lives in a humble home in California. He chose to live in a modest house with 5 bedrooms. For someone as rich as Dave, his choice of a house is very down to earth. But despite this being modest for a celebrity, don't be fooled. It's still very impressive and not your typical home. His place is a 5-bedroom, 7-bathroom house on a 2.1-acre lot. He obviously values privacy, as his house offers a lot of that. What makes his home more unique and special compared to other celebrity homes is that it's got a vintage feel. It has a rustic charm that you don't see in a lot of modern homes. Dave bought the house in 2003 for $2.2 million and has added his personal touch to the home since. But despite having a modest home, it's not his only home. Having a vacation home is definitely something you'd expect from a multimillionaire. When Dave needs a break from California life, he can easily visit his second home in Hawaii. The tropical paradise is the perfect place for Dave and his family to unwind. But even with the vacation home in Hawaii, the houses that Dave has isn't the lavish ones that you'd expect. In this aspect, he's surely staying modest and getting just what's enough for him and his family. Impractical purchase. Other than houses, multimillionaires like Dave love to splurge on vehicles. But really, when it comes to buying luxuries, Dave doesn't seem to go with the flow of celebrities. In fact, Dave claims he only drives a family car. In an interview, he admits, "I drive a family car, not a monster SUV, but a family car that fits 5 people." Dave drives a vintage Ford Falcon Combi van that has enough space for his family. Tracking it down was a labor of love for Dave. It might not seem like the kind of ride that a rock star would have, but Dave's all for practicality, at least when it comes to his car. This might come as a shock, but Dave also owns a $140,000 Tesla. Not quite in character for someone like Dave. However, he admits that it was impractical and the stupidest thing. But it doesn't seem like he completely regretted the financial decision, because he also says that his Tesla's the fastest car I've ever been in my entire life. Giving back to charity. It's clear to see that Dave doesn't like to splurge. All the wealth he has, he doesn't find the need to blow it away on the latest things. It seems like Dave believes that wealth is to be shared. We all know that Dave's known as the nicest guy in the rock industry, but it gets even more real when you realize that he spends his $300 million net worth to donate to countless charities. Dave reportedly donated to over 15 charities and organizations, including those that support autism and kids' cancer treatment. These are still different from the charity concerts he likes doing. According to reports, his donations to these children's charities have reached roughly $1 billion. If you think about it, charities seem to be where the bulk of his money goes to. It's not only charities, though, because Dave likes to treat the people around him with what they deserve. Dave's known to tip his servers very well multiple times, even tipping $1,000 a day to some. Goes straight into the bank. When asked what he does with all his cash, Dave jokingly said, "It goes straight into my bank account where it all turns moldy and smelly." Classic Dave jokes about it, but knowing how frugal he's living compared to others, he's speaking the truth. Dave also admits that he enjoys having money to work on his projects and music without worry. If you know Dave Grohl, you know that he has a lot of things going for him because he enjoys doing projects for himself and for others. This is basically where he puts his money for stuff other than helping organizations. And although that's the case for him, he says that money is not his top priority. In an interview, he said, "I don't waste my time thinking about how I can make more when I already got enough. I'm not a banker, I'm a musician." Money mindset. The mindset that Dave has is something that many should emulate. He doesn't let money control him, nor does he make it his priority. Not many know it, but the way Dave looks at money has stemmed from his childhood. All of his wisdom when it comes to money stemmed from an incident when he was young and when his mom had a stroke. Recounting the story after the stroke, Dave said, "I remember coming back to the house that night, alone with my sister, and looking at the piece of paper she was writing to the IRS on as she started to have her stroke, and it left an indelible mark on me that was, money will kill you. That people spend their lives dying inside because of money." So, even as his career reached sky high, he never changed his mindset about money. Even when Nirvana became big, he always stayed frugal and didn't put his mind too much on the money. In fact, Nirvana never really was about getting rich, but about making music for people. Dave also believes that you don't have to come from money to be successful. "I never graduated high school and I never had enough money for college. Now I'm in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I'm not saying what a great guy I am, but I want everyone to imagine that that same opportunity is possible." Despite his immense success, Dave Grohl's lifestyle remains remarkably modest. Everyone can learn a thing or two about how to handle money from Dave. Instead of splurging on a lavish lifestyle, Dave makes it a point to pursue his projects and give back. By staying true to who he is and giving back, Dave's legacy definitely extends far beyond the stage. He has genuine artistry and compassion in an industry often associated with extravagance and indulgence.